I've got an entire box of Final Fantasy play boosters, and I'm going to turn this entire thing into a commander deck over the course of this video. The thing is I don't know Final Fantasy that well, so I've got my buddy Dom with me. Say hey, Dom.
Hello, Dom.
I've got Dom joining me on this one so that if I have any Final Fantasy related questions, he can help me, and he can also help me build the deck. Dom, why don't you, before we jump into this, tell him a little about yourself, how long you've been playing Magic, and what you know about Final Fantasy.
Playing Magic since probably college. Joel actually got me into it, 2010. And then Final Fantasy since I could play video games. So probably most of my life. I definitely have some favorites, and it's been like 20 years since I played some of these. So expert, I'm glad you didn't use that title. Yeah, I'm excited.
Surprising no one, they've got Cloud on every single one of these play booster packs. Look at that.
Yeah, that's John Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they were just out and out about it. Want to thank our sponsors here on Joel R Magic real quick. Card Conduit, the best place to sell your cards quickly and easily on the internet. Of course, TCG Player, the best place to buy them. Dragon Shield, the best way to protect them. And Moxfield, which you'll see later in the video, where we'll take our deck list so that we can work on it a little bit. Dom, so far into this Final Fantasy pack, we're just jumping right into it.
You got a little mana dork. I like that, straight up.
Yeah, getting through our commons here. We're going to be looking for legendaries. That's the whole game here, is build a commander deck, so finding a legendary is numero uno. There's a lot of them in this deck, though, so I know we're going to run into quite a bit of them. Looking into our first rare, where are we going to hit here? It is still an uncommon. Side quest, Raise a Chocobo. And we've got an Firian Wild Rose Warrior. Equipped creatures have haste. Whenever a non-token equipment enters, create a token that's a copy of it. We got a foil Ride the Show Poof. Let me get this a little more organized, and then we'll just keep jumping in. Okay, we've got our piles here, color order, white, blue, black, red, green, colorless, and gold. We're going to put our notables or our rares here in the middle, and then I'm keeping our lands over here, and I'm pretty sure land fixing is going to be important in this. Not only because of hoping for a 3-color, commander so that we have the maximum amount of versatility when we go to build, but towns is a sub-theme in this one. Have you seen any of the towns cards, Dom?
I have. I actually... the more they came out, the more I want to just throw them into everything, but it's probably not the best idea. I really like that Rose Warrior you got, though. I think cool interaction with all the job equipments.
Create 2 creature tokens with that one. Lots of chocobos in the art. There's a Choco Comet. Vanille. Lots of characters I do not know. Look at that. Balthier and Fran.
Oh, yeah.
Vehicles you control get +1/+1, have vigilance and reach, and whenever a vehicle crewed by Balthier and Fran attacks, if it's first combat phase of the turn, you can pay 3. If you do after this phase, there's an additional combat phase.
It's cool, but there's not a lot of vehicles in this set, I don't think.
No, I'm not sure that there's going to be enough support in that. It is cool, though. A little token over here. As we are getting into this, this is the 5th, I believe, one of these that I have done as a challenge here. I started with FD and Jumpstart. I built a mono white Adeline deck. And then I built, with Innistrad Remastered, I built Grimgrin. That was a really fun build, building zombies out of an Innistrad Remastered box. I put the black card there. There's another town, Adventurer's Inn. When it enters, you gain 2 life. A little colorless. Wow, look at that.
Oh.
Gotta light up the stage. Interesting. A promise fulfilled. These packs are gonna have a lot of interesting looking cards in them, huh?
Yeah, they are. And Final Fantasy VIII is the best Final Fantasy, so...
That one's from Final Fantasy VIII? There you go. See, I wouldn't have known that. I guess I'll put that there. I've got to figure out what all is in these packs. Giat, King of the Dwarves. Double strike, and whenever it or another dwarf you control enters, and whenever an equipment you control enters, you can discard if you do draw. There's a Coral Sword. Yeah. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And our rare is Summon Leviathan.
Pretty
little blue finisher
good.
there, potentially. 6/6, Ward 2. Whoa, we got some special cards here. Dion, Bahamut's Dominant. During your turn, it and other knights control have flying, and when it enters, create a 2/2, and we can exile it, then return it as Bahamut, Warden of Light. Put a +1 counter on each creature we control. They gain flying until end of turn, and then destroy target permanent with Giga Flare. Tom, tell us what's going on with this before we look at our foil mythic down here.
Well, this is for Final Fantasy 16, and the way they did summons in this one, because every game's different, was that these people could turn into the dominants, the summons, and then they would turn back into humans afterwards.
Wow.
And so that's just kind of why it's flipping back and forth.
That is a
really cool commander.
Card. Yeah. Yuna, Hope of Spira here. During your turn, it has enchantment creatures we control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. So enchantment creatures, that's pretty specific. But at the end step, we can return an enchantment card from the graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Nice pack there overall, though. I'm not sure if this is going to be an option for us with this kind of deck build, simply because you have to have more options. We're obviously not going to be drawing all of the perfect cards from our packs as we build here. It's basically a limited build, you know? And so you want to try and find a multicolor commander as much as you can.
Yeah, and plus I don't know how many knights are in here, and you'd have a better chance with the mono red guy, I think. Yeah,
I think so. If we were going to end up going to monocolor, you kind of have to see what you end up with, but that is the game here. With the Aether Drift set, I did Captain Howler. That was a nice little discard deck here. And then Eshki Dragonclaw from Dragonstorm. Got to build a interesting deck because it was like balancing the two. There's a Summon Titan as our rare in this pack.
That's good.
It was kind of balancing with Eshki. It was like balancing non-creatures and creatures in the deck. Lots of foils in these. Treno Dark City there. And so it was a tougher build because you had to have a good balance. So if you want to see any of those older bids, those are on the channel. You can see some other deck builds here. The Final Fantasy one, though, what we're going to do with this one is like we do with all of them. In the build, we allow ourselves a Command Tower, a Soul Ring, and an Arcane Signet. It is a commander deck after all. If you were playing in a limited event, like a boxing event is what these are kind of called sometimes, they wouldn't allow that kind of thing. But just for us, so that we have a more playable deck at the end, those 3 cards we build into it. And then we just take whatever's in the box past that. Judge Magister Gabranth. Whenever a creature or artifact you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Judge Magister Gabranth. Another uncommon legend. Lots of legendaries in this set. Typically, we're kind of starved. Look at that. Y'shtola got a mythic blue card.
Another really cool commander, yeah.
6/3/5. 6 mana 3/5. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it's the first end step of the turn, there's an additional end step. So end step trigger stuff is going to be crazy with that one. Got a Summon Shiva behind that in the foil. Another summon card into our land there. Your limited rules are going to apply when you're building your deck. You're going to be looking for certain things like fixing, depending on your colors that you end up in. You're trying to fix the mana base, make sure that you've got the right amount of stuff to ramp. It is still a format where there are going to be green decks and there's going to be mana rocks, and so you want to do what you can. Look at that, Azusa Lost But Seeking. It's a Princess Sarah.
Speak of ramp. There you go.
There we go. We got a nice little ramp piece there. I actually really think this card is beautiful.
It's really great.
That is a good looking one. This bonus sheet, I'm real hit or miss on. It's not 100% across the board a hit for me, but I really do like that card. That one is quite pretty.
Because the art takes up the whole card. Some of those have a lot of void.
Yeah.
That one is
some of them are pretty weird looking too. That one, that one is a little more in line. Dinked. How do you pronounce that?
So you got it right the second time.
Dinked. You can play an additional land, talking about ramp, and +1/+0 for each land you control. And at the beginning of your end step, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Interesting card there. Another rare behind that with Xenos Galvus. They're really putting me to the test here. Choose a creature an opponent controls when it enters until end of turn. Creatures other than Xenos and the chosen creature get -2/-2. And when it leaves the battlefield, we transform it into Shinryu, Transcendent Rival. As it transforms into Shinryu, choose an opponent. When the chosen player loses, you win. Wow. That's a pretty good card in Commander, right?
It is, yeah. And it's also like really flavorful from 14 because he like chases you for expansions and then you beat him and then he becomes like really obsessed with you in almost a romantic kind of way.
Really?
Where he just wants to keep fighting you to the point where he helps you fight something that he has no interest in fighting, just so he can get it out of the way, so you guys can turn your attention on each other.
He's like, I want to be the one that you fight. Don't fight other things. Fight me.
Yeah.
That's a very strange character, but I like the representation there on the card. As far as I can see, they've done a pretty good job with translating game mechanics and memes. And ooh, nice, got an overkill there. Talking about things you're looking for in limited, removal, good removal, and this is as good a removal as you're gonna get in limited right here. It just straight up aces somebody. Freya Crescent is a 1/1 for 1, not what we're looking for. Summon Fenrir.
Nice.
Is that a cool summon from the game? Oh, it's search your library for a basic land. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's good.
Little wolfy summon there. Ooh, Noctis behind that. That's pretty sweet. 3-color commander. Very specific, though. You can cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 in addition. And if you cast a spell this way, it enters with a finality counter on it. Really good longevity in a game, which is something you want to look for as you're building a commander deck, especially in a limited environment like this. But it's going to come down to like what you pull as far as artifacts. I mean, you can see our choices are very thin so far, and we're about a third of the way into the box. What do you think about Noctis? How would you go about trying to build that if you were going to?
I think it really it doesn't interest me as a commander, but if I was playing CEDH, it probably would. Like CEDH, I think that unlocks the full potential of that guy.
Yeah, when you have every single card in the in the format to pull from. We got Jill, Shiva's dominant. This is another one. It's looking like from that game you said where they can turn into the actual summons. Target creature can't be blocked. Tap all lands your opponents control. That's not bad. 5 mana to Exiler. Bounces a thing when she enters. Interesting card. I don't know if I'd play it as commander, but it's a cool one to be in the 99 if we end up in blue. Yeah, really the only thing pulling me into Noctis is the fact that it's 3 colors, and so we'd get to run all of our best cards of white, blue, and black, which is a situation you end up in when you're building like this. I talked about you're looking for mana fixing, you're looking for mana ramp, you're looking for removal. You want a curve. You want a curve overall, and that means a good distribution of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana spells and so forth. With a format like this, you really want to be heavier into your like 3, 4, and 5s than you typically would in a deck build like this, where you'd want to be a little bit heavier. What the heck is that? What is
this? This is from 8. He was just a little alien, so it was like an open world. You could like go anywhere you want, and every now and then you'd see like a little alien. I think the first time you see it, it's over Balam Garden, and like you can interact with it, and the whole thing is like, I think you heal it or you give it a healing item, and then it just says thank you and leaves. You can find it in multiple spaces and like follow this whole trail around it. It's a weird random thing that they put in the game.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a weird random thing to hit in a booster pack while you're trying to explain MTG to somebody, and it's like poo-poo UFO.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's your Noctis support. Right?
Yeah, there you go. We needed artifacts, right? Black Waltz number 3, Flying Death Touch 2/2, cast a non-creature, deals 2. That's pretty sweet. Squall, that's a card, I'm pretty sure. It's a commander at the very least. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. That's nice. And then whenever Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best thing you've pulled so far as this format goes.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. The Regalia, I pulled a card. Whenever it attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library. That's really solid, actually. It's always going to hit a land. That's pretty sweet. So far, it's looking like maybe a black-white sort of exalted attackering deck, but lots of like 1, 2, and 3 mana things to return. There's a dinosaur in this set. Look at that.
Yeah, T-Rex are. That's a funny meme. I'm sure everyone's seen this to death, so I'm not gonna like go through it. But
Galacat or Suplex?
No, Suplex.
Oh,
so
yeah.
About the Suplex the train.
Yeah, he attacks a train in this one. Me and my guest talked about that, and when I was talking about lore in the Final Fantasy Expert video. So we're looking at curve overall, making sure you've got a good distribution of cards at your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but specifically with Commander, your 3, 4, and 5. There's a Squall Leonhardt. That's a Danitha Capuchin. So that's a Aura equipment card right there.
I mean, that kind of works with the if you manage some more auras. I don't know how much auras are in this set. If you were still doing the black-white Squall.
Yeah, it's nice that Squall and Squall's Godzilla treatment card definitely could go in the same deck together quite easily. That's nice. That's a white card, though.
Yeah.
That's a white card. Got it. We'll just move on from that. Self-destruct. Phoenix down. Nice return card there. Sefer Almasi is a name. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike. Oh, wow. Double strike. Are you kidding me? Then when it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast target instant or sorcery mana value 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost, and then it gets exiled.
So he is actually, if you notice, him and Squall both have similar abilities.
Yeah.
They're actually rivals, this guy versus Squall. So they both have like an attack alone ability, and they both have some sort of recursion ability, which, to be fair, doesn't make any sense at all. It's not flavorful to them at all, but they're sort of mirroring each other, same mana cost, same stat block.
Yeah, interesting. They both got gun blades. That's kind of cool. Cool. All right, last pack of the first column, and we'll be fully a third of the way through the box. So good creature count. That's next after your curve distribution. This is going to be a format, especially if you're playing this at a con or at your local LGS. You've got a lot of creatures. You're going to need them. More creatures than I would say you would typically need. Creature-based strategies are going to typically be stronger in a limited environment than your non-creature strategies. Look at that. Create a 2/2, or a thing gets +0/+4, or destroy a big creature, or gain 4 life. That is...
Yeah, I love this card.
Quite versatile and excellent. I like that a lot. Thieves' Knife. Another equipment there in the wrong color. Gladiolus. Got a legend here. Landfall legend. Search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then whenever a land you control enters, another target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Not bad.
Too expensive for my blood.
Yeah, it's a little chunky. Side quest. Ooh, and we got an Emmett Selch Unsundered here. Vigilance. Whenever it enters or attacks, draw a card, discard a card. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you can transform Emmett into Hades, Sorcerer of Eld. During your turn, you can play cards from your graveyard, and if a card or token will be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. What do you think of that one so far? I like that one a lot.
New favorite for the build. Plus, Xenos goes in there, and Xenos and him work together for a little bit too. So. Oh,
that's cool. Little flavor win there. Yeah, so far, so if you're watching this, the reason that we like Emmett so much is the longevity. Number one, it's a 3-mana commander. Number two, the draw discard is really good for fixing your hand and making sure that you can stay in the game. And then that commander flipping is going to allow you to play cards from your graveyard, which the longevity increase of that, being able to replay all your stuff that you've already played, is so strong. That is definitely a really good option for an event like this. Tifa's Limit Break lets us get +2/+2, double a creature's power and toughness, or triple a creature's power and toughness. Wow. Love how that scales up across the game. That's pretty strong. Zidane, Tantalus Thief. When it enters, gain control of target creature an opponent controls. Oh, nice. It's a little anarchy ability here. Untap it, it gains lifelink and haste. Whenever an opponent gains control of a permanent from you, you gain a treasure token. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's all right.
Side quest, Hunt the Mark. And then Clive's Hideaway. Got a little legendary land here. Hideaway 4, and then you can pay 2 and play the exile card without paying its mana cost if you control 4 or more legendary creatures. Kind of a tough one to pull off in an environment like this, but not impossible.
There's a lot of legendaries in this set, though.
Yes.
So maybe.
Yeah, there really is. Okay, we are a third of the way through this box. Mana base, fixing, your curve overall, your total creature count, your removal, and then your card advantage. Any cards that say draw a card in Commander are going to be huge. In Magic in general are going to be fantastic, but again, it's about longevity in games like this. It's about stemming the tide of what your opponents are doing, trying to put pressure on the board yourself, and also, try and last the entire length of the game. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal an artifact, put it into your hand. That's pretty good card advantage. As we're talking about card advantage, by the way, in a deck that would want a card like this, it would really want a card like this, and it would be happy to look at the top 5 and get exactly what it needs from those into the hand. That's a really good one there.
There's that.
Yeah, good spellcaster sort of card there. We talked about how those strategies aren't as strong in Commander, but it could work, especially with cards that are saying each opponent because it's dealing damage. Torgal the Wolf leads us into Sarah Farron, little legendary reduction cost spell. First legendary spell you cast each turn costs 2 less, and at the beginning of combat, if you control 2 or more other legends, you can transform Sarah into Crystallized Sarah. First legendary creature spell you cast each turn costs 2, and legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. Thunder magic behind that, 2, 4, or 8 to a creature. Pretty sweet removal there. Love how that scales up over the course of a game. One of the people that I listen to about how to build limited decks is Reed Duke, obviously Hall of Fame player. Reed Duke says bombs are first. You're looking for bombs, and that means a card that's going to win you the game. Something that if they don't remove it, it's going to win you the game. And that can look like a big 6/6 in the air. It can look like something that completely shuts off your opponent's strategies. Anything where you're going to be able to close out a game with it if it goes unanswered, that is where you want to steer your strategy, because you do need to eventually win. Cactuar here is a 3/3 for 1 at the beginning of your end step. If it didn't enter this turn, return it. That's quite a funny card. I like that.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
X-Death, Void Warlock is a 3-mana 3/3. Enters, you gain 3. Beginning of your end step, if there are 6 or more permanents in your graveyard, you can transform it into Neo X-Death, Dimensions End, power and toughness. No, power equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard, and it has trample. Interesting legend there.
Love this one.
Matoya, whenever you scry or surveil, draw. Wow, quite strong there. I like that a lot. Oh, hey.
Oh,
one of those packs. Dom, you can have one of the Matoyas there. How about that? We have got 2 copies of Matoya as potential includes. If you were building this in a limited sense in an event, you would get to run as many of the multiples as you open. We're not going to build that way. We're just trying to build a straight up commander deck that would give you a starting place for a commander deck, and then you could upgrade it over time as you open more packs or go do drafts of this at your LGS. That's kind of the goal of this series, is to show you how to use a box in a way where you can immediately start playing with it and then upgrade it over time, especially if you're only interested in Final Fantasy cards. Hey, look, my preview card. One of the 2, White Aura Sight. Hooray. Queena. Oh, nice. Look, Lionheart.
Boo.
Yeah, you were very disappointed with this equipment, huh? It's not Buster Sword, so they couldn't make it good.
Yeah, well, Buster Sword is his starting weapon.
Yeah, I know.
That is Wall's final weapon. So...
Rufus, when it attacks, if you don't control a creature named Darkstar, create Darkstar, a legendary 2/2 dog. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Machinist's Arsenal. Job select, so it creates a 1/1 hero when it comes in. +2/+2 for each artifact you control. Wow. That's quite strong as a 5-mana creature, and then it just re-equips for 4. I like that a lot. Look at this. This was Travis Gafford's preview card, one of them. Saz, Catsroy, 4-mana 3/3 enters. You can search for a bird or a basic, put it into your hand, and when it attacks, you put a +1 counter on a creature, then double the number of counters on that creature. Pretty strong, generic, rare card there.
Oh, there's a bird.
Side quest, raise a chocobo. That makes sense behind Saz. And then it turns into black chocobo on the back. That's pretty cool. So Reed Duke says bombs go first. Things that are going to win us the game. That's what we want to try and build around. Then we're looking at premium removal, because what's better than playing a bomb, Dom, than removing our opponent's bomb?
Let everybody play the game, all right?
No, we need to stop people from winning if we want to win. It is a game at the end of it. Oh my goodness, another White Aura Sight. We got multiples of the White Aura Sight coming through. There's a little rabbit. Man, the variance among these games as far as like looks and inclusions, and it is all over the place, huh? These Final Fantasy games.
Love this card too. This is a good card.
Can't be blocked except by 3 or more. I see. Good flavor-wise. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped with a finality counter on it. I mean, it's pretty solid longevity. If you need big creatures, that's one that comes back. You know, not bad in a format like this. We got a copy of Sid. There's a bunch of different Sids, and that's just one of them. We got the Wandering Minstrel here. Now, hang on. We just got a 5-color option as a commander, and that is very interesting.
Yeah, I like this guy.
The Wandering Minstrel is a 2-mana 1/3. Lands you control enter untapped. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 5 or more towns, create a 2/2 that's all colors. And for 8 mana, other creatures you control get XX until end of turn, where X is the number of towns you control. That is very
I
interesting.
Love this guy. I love this guy. Turns all of your towns into just amazing dual lands. Yeah, 100%. Like, he's great.
Spitting out 2/2s every turn that feed into your going wideness. What is there lore here? What is this character? Are you familiar?
I'm not familiar with this guy. There's so many characters in Final Fantasy 14. It's going to be hard for me to keep that straight.
I will say this is the first time in this game with this series on the channel that I've hit a 5-color potential option. And so that is very, very enticing when you consider that you'll be able to run all of your best cards. And this is a format where in the set, we've got such a large amount of these dual enters tapped lands that are also the towns that fit into his strategy. Very interesting to run those. Put that in the wrong place. I'm actually quite excited about the prospect of that being something we do.
Yeah, we got to find some more of those town synergy cards now. I think,
yeah, town synergies, anything that's fixing, searching up lands, especially basics, that's fine with this so that we can hit our colors. Feel like you end up hitting green as a primary color there. That is a Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. Oh my god, dude. This is a set where you can just randomly open a Ragavan. That is wild. Zidane Tribal. I thought they stopped putting that word on cards. Whenever Zidane deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn you may cast that card. This is a Ragavan.
I always read it as Tribble, but I don't know. It was all text. So
Zidane Tribble. That's insane. I just randomly opened a Ragavan in a pack of Final Fantasy. Okay. Ambrosia Whiteheart. We're gonna continue on here. I like the amount of legendary uncommon creatures in this. There's a lot of options for legendary matters. Look at the top 6. Put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. This is good.
Yeah, this is really good with the 5-color guy.
Yes, this is the kind of card that we want to build into our 5-color option. Stolen Uniform. Choose target creature you control and target equipment. Gain control of that equipment until end of turn. Attach it to the chosen creature. When you lose control of that equipment, if it's attached to a creature you control, unattach it. The art on this one is kind of insane, to be honest. And there's a mythic behind there. Ancient Adamantoise. It's a big turtle. Big turtle. That's a 20 butt. Damage isn't removed from this creature during cleanup steps. All damage that will be dealt to you and other permanents you control is dealt to this instead. And when it dies, exile it and create 10 tapped treasure tokens. Dom, would you count this as a bomb? It's kind of on the interesting line of a bomb, but I feel like it would be very difficult to deal with.
In a one-on-one, no, but in a 4-player, it just means nobody's going to mess with you. Yeah. Unless they can remove it.
We're really, I think, hoping towards town synergies right now. I think Emmett and the 5-color are the two where I've got the most interest currently. Mm-hmm. So Reed says bombs, then Reed says premium removal, then Reed says card advantage. We talked about drawing cards, anything that's going to search up specific cards, go get lands out of your library, anything that's going to give you advantage value-wise, resource-wise. That is something that should be highly prioritized. There's an Aerith Gainsborough as our rare in this pack. Lifelink, whenever you gain life, put a +1 counter on her. Whenever she dies, put X counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of counters on her. Nice little life gain legend there in white. Reno and Rude deals combat damage, exile the top card of that player's library, then you can sack another creature or artifact. If you do, you can play the exile card this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. Past card advantage, you're looking at creatures with evasion. That's really how you're going to get through anything that's got menace, anything that's got trample, anything that's got flying. That stuff will be preferred higher than creatures that don't. And past that, you just sort of fill in the blanks with places that you could sink mana. Any cards that have an activated ability that doesn't require tapping, that you can just pay mana into, is really good in formats like this, because you'll get to the end of the game. Look at that. Gains hexproof and indestructible for 1 mana. Hexproof, indestructible, gain 3 life for 2, don't care. All permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible, and as a kicker, you get 6 life. That's a very strong card. I like that. Tidus Blitzball Star. Artifact you control enters, put a +1 counter on it whenever Tidus attacks. Tap target creature an opponent controls. That'll go well with the Spider-Man deck later this year. There's the Phantom Train that you can tackle if you want to talk about a meme. Ring of Lucci gets us into Joshua Phoenix's Dominant. Is this another one of the transform characters you were talking about?
Yeah, Clive's little brother, the main character's little brother. Yeah, this is good. I like this card a lot.
Discard up to 2 and draw. Love that. That's good fixing. It's not so much card advantage because it's a net 0 on cards, but it's hand sculpting. People refer to it as hand sculpting, hand fixing, and that can be really strong too. For 5, you can exile it and turn it into the Dominant, which is, or the summon. The Phoenix deals 2 to each opponent, chapters 1 and 2, then return any number of target creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield and then exile Phoenix. That's nice. Good longevity there. If you're in a 5-color deck, this one is pretty generically strong for a commander deck. I would say that this would be one of the cards that we would run most likely. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's recursion. There's not going to be a lot of choices for that.
No, there's really not. Stuff you can sink mana into, and then just generically good, like a 5/5 for 4 creature with no other abilities. Once you're past all of the other categories, that's when you're into just like fairly decent generic creatures. Like I would say Coeurl is pretty solid, but just when we get down to it, if we happen to need in our 2 mana slot in our curve a good creature that also does some stuff, that's the kind of creature we're getting down to at that point in the build, towards the end. Ooh, Sir Conrad the Grim. Nice little self-mill card here. Definitely a card that's going to go in commander decks. I'm telling you, I'm already filling out some commander decks with some of these cards I'm opening. Just a Sir Conrad. Good old Sir Conrad, but a very cool-looking Sir Conrad. Can you tell me about Golbez here?
No. Also, I mean, that's from Final Fantasy IV. That's the one that I played when I was probably 12. But it is the coolest looking Sir Conrad.
It is definitely up there. I like it a lot. I'm going to set that one to the side there with my Ragavan. Got a Sandworm. Nice. That's a cool 5-mana creature right there. When it enters destroy target land, its controller can search your library for a basic land. We can either destroy one of our, colorless lands to fix ourselves, or we can destroy one of their things that's like hitting us hard and still have a hasty 5/4. Summon a Primal Garuda. The Diamond Weapon. Holy moly. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to it, and it's got reach. This is the kind of creature that we really love to see. Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Cast a 9-creature Surveil, and you can flip it for 5 into Chaos the Endless. 5/5 flyer. Also got Van, Street Thief. Whenever one or more scouts, pirates, or rogues deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that library. You can cast it. If you don't, create a treasure. When you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1/+1 counter on each scout, pirate, and rogue. Wow. Really strong.
There you go. Little Zidane synergy.
Yeah, I like that. Undercity Dire Rat is our foil, and then we've got another land. We'll just take as many of these as we possibly can get. That's all we want to open in that slot. All right, we are on the last pack of column 2 here. We've gotten through all of the strategy of building, what we want to look for. It's a limited event that we're kind of aimed at, so we're trying to have a good curve, make sure we've got strong bombs at the top of whatever we pick. We're going to have to pick our commander based on the support that we've got, period. Ooh, look at that Chromatic Lantern there. It's a beautiful card.
Color.
Yes.
In the 5 color. That's great.
That has a really cool bonus sheet pull for us to maybe be building a 5 color. It's kind of forming itself up right now, though, I'll be honest. It's kind of making the decision for us here. And so those are the things that we want to look out when we're playing this game in general, when we're trying to build Louis So's Sacrifice, counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or non-creature spell if we pay 2 extra or sack a legendary creature. And we got Vane's Treachery behind that. So then the only other thing to discuss with this set in particular are the intricacies of the Final Fantasy set. Once we've got the reliable mana base, a balanced mana curve, all of our best cards, ways to win, resilience to mana flood with mana sinks, we want to know the intricacies of the set itself. Every set has got predetermined archetypes that color pairings or triple color pairings line up around. And with this one, Dom, with Final Fantasy, we've got blue-white is all about artifacts. Look at that counterspell.
That is sick. That is awesome.
This set is
That is sick.
I'll say This one looks better than it did online in hand. When I saw this digitally, I wasn't a huge fan, but this card looks really sick in hand, I will say that.
Yeah, the stroke on the letters is less offensive than it feels like when you look at it on a computer screen.
Yeah, I just don't like that stroke, but it is what it is. And that card it was cool to open, I will say that. When I looked at it, I was like, oh, nice. Yeah. That's a nice little counter spell to pull there. With blue-white in this one, we're looking at artifact strategy. It says, calling all machinists, build up your arsenal by playing artifacts, including artifact creatures and token-generating equipment. That lines up with that very first legend that we saw, that blue-white-black one. I forget what its name was. Rare.
Noctis.
Nope. Oh, yeah, Noctis. That was the one. That makes sense. Midgar. This is from Final Fantasy VII, right? Heyo.
Mm-hmm.
The only and most famous Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah, it's also one of the better of those that series of towns, I think.
Yeah, 3 mana. Oh yeah, town is relevant. That's actually a really relevant rare for us. Sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw 2. Nice, yeah. I'll take that. That's really sweet. We got a foiled Judge Magister Gabranth, and this actually lines up perfectly with black-white artifact and creature sacrifice. It says sacrifice your artifacts and creatures, especially ones with death effects, to steadily gain the upper hand. Token generating equipment gives you 2 things to sacrifice. So you can see how they even have the strategies sort of cross color pairings, blue-white and black-white, doing very similar things. And you'll see that in those 3 color legends like Noctis that was blue, white, and black. Blue-black is just straight up control. Scheme and act in secret. Dominate the long game with strategies like this. Removal spells, card draw, tricky creatures, flashback spells have a big current in that one as well. And so if you're playing blue-black, it's a lot of the spell casting and those tokens we've seen that deal a damage to each opponent when you cast a non-creature spell. Look at that, Choco Mog. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's crazy.
So good for 4 turns. You get that on a 3 for 3. That's great.
Hey, we got a Moogle behind it. It's a very thematic pack. Target opponent gains control of another target permanent you control. If you do, draw a card. That is got less applicability, I would say, in a format like this.
It's got no support in this whole set.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
You got to have specific cards for that strategy for sure. Black-red is doing similar things to blue-black, where you're playing the aggressive game with creatures that reward you whenever you cast a non-creature spell. You're looking out for cards that create those wizard tokens, like I was talking about with control. Those 2 color pairings sort of cross over really nicely. Blue-red also crosses over pretty nicely with that. It's about big non-creatures. Whenever you cast spells that cost 4 or more, you're getting extra bonuses when you're doing that. Graveyard value for black-green. Look at cards like Cloud of Darkness. Really good timing on that one. Whenever Cloud of Darkness enters, target creature an opponent controls gets -X/-X, where X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. So you can see what black-green is trying to do. We've seen a lot of the red-green landfall creatures here. This one, Vanille, Cheerful Lassie, enters, mill 2 cards and return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So this falls into the graveyard value strategies. At the beginning of your first main phase, if you both own and control Vanille and a creature named Fang, you can pay 5, exile them, and meld them. This is a meld card. Oh, wow, look at that. Ragnarok, Divine Deliverance. Holy moly.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that one's kind of insane.
The partner to that Surveil is the black one, so there's your graveyard.
Yeah, works well with that. Venat, Heart of Hidalin. Whenever you cast a legendary, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn. Still, that's good. I like that. You can also exile target non-land permanent and transform Venat into Hidalin the Mother Crystal. 4/4 indestructible.
You're going to get murdered.
Hydaelyn
in the comments. It's
Got Hydaelyn. It. Hydaelyn. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1 counter on another creature you control until your next turn. It gains indestructible. If it's legendary, draw a card. Wow, I'm putting this into Hada. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a pretty cool creature there for Legendary Reanimator Matters decks. So the red-green has got full-on landfall, and we saw green-white is very go-wide. It's giving creatures +1/+0 for 4 chapters of a saga, you know what I'm saying? So you want to build a lot of creature token stuff and little creatures that create other creatures. Cards like Magitech Infantry that can search your library for a card named Magitech Infantry. Stuff like that is where you're going with green-white. Whereas with red-white, it's all about equipment aggro. You grab your favorite iconic weapons, rush into battle, look for creatures that want to be equipped or cards that reward you for having equipment. And then, Dom, it says that the town ramp is mostly in blue-green. So that kind of makes sense with our 5-color commander option here, starting as a blue-green commander and then becoming a 5-color commander with its activated ability down there. Imperial City of Arcades is a Wall of Omens.
That is the best Wall of Omens now. That is really cool.
That is a very cool looking card, I will say. I'm going to put that into my toughness deck here that I just built from the Abzan Precon. Summon Esper. We got a Zach Fair. Going to help our cloud survive. And we got a Raubon, Bull of Alamigo. That is a bunch of words there. Pay life equal to its power whenever it attacks. Attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target attacking creature. That's what it wants to do, huh?
Yeah, he's only got 1 arm, which is really interesting.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
and
look at that.
he's helping people equip weapons, so he's missing an arm.
Yeah, he's like, I can still hold 1 sword. And then we've got a Gladiolus. We were talking about landfall in green-red. Gladiolus is one of your signposty uncommons there. Creatures getting +2/+2 and trample when you have a landfall happen. Another town is nice. We want to run all of those that we can. We're down to our last 6 packs. We've got 1 sealed event left here. Honestly, at this point, I'm pretty hardcore into let's go towns, blue-green, 5-color towns, and see if we can live the dream and build a 5-color deck. Just getting to pick all of your best cards feels so good, I gotta say.
And the box seems to want you to do that too. It seems like
yeah, it does feel like it's speaking to us and saying, build 5-color, go nuts. Hey, my other preview card, Lock Cole. I opened both preview cards in this box. Love that. Death Touching, Life Linking, 2/3 deals combat, draw, and discard. Little hand sculpting. Solid uncommon legend there. I was a fan. Got a Barrett Wallace as well for your equipment decks. And whenever it attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to a defending player. And a Tifa lock card behind that. We're just going full-on landfall aggro with this pack. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa's power until end of turn. Very strong.
Yeah, that's dope.
Paladin's Arms behind that in foil. No town in that pack is disappointing. I had to say something. There's that token. I was looking for the Dark Star token to see what it looked like. That looks kind of crazy. You want a dog token there. Nutso looking dog. That would definitely freak me out if I saw it at the park. Paladin's Arms. This is that strategy I was talking about with Black Mage aggro or control or even the big non-creatures. If you combine this with blue and red, create a 0/1 Black Wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature, deals 1 damage to each opponent. That is particularly strong in Commander because it's going to hit each opponent, not just your one opponent like you would in a typical limited event. Quistis Trepe. I almost named my daughter that. I'm just kidding. It's not words that I've ever seen or heard in my life. Whenever it enters, you can cast an instant sorcery from a graveyard. And mana of any color can be spent to cast that. That's pretty cool. We got another Gladiolus behind that. And we got a Chocobo Racetrack. And our rare is Ultima Origin of Oblivion. I found my card from my Eldrazi deck, dude. A flying 4/4. Attacks, put a blight counter. For as long as it has a blight counter, it loses all land types and has add colorless. Whenever you tap a land for colorless, add an additional colorless. What do you think about that? I don't think this works in our Towns deck, but it's a sweet card.
I don't think it works in the Towns deck either, but you don't need to put that in your Eldrazi. Just throw that away. That's a trash card.
Vincent Valentine behind that. Double
Nice.
rare pack. We'll take that. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of +1 counters on Vincent equal that creature's power, and when it attacks, you can transform it into Galleon Beast. Trample lifelinking 3/2. When it dies, return to the battlefield tapped. Wow, Vincent doesn't go away, does he?
Oh no, you got to kill him. You got to kill him before he transforms.
Yeah, for real. Dark Knight's Great Sword is a job selecting +3/+0 knight creator. It's not bad for the equipment strategies. Another town there. Hey, this entire token is legendary dogs.
Which dog do you want to go with? You know, it could be either one.
Wow, I want to cuddle with Darkstar, but I would have Angelo fight for me. That's the face of a killer.
Yeah. In the game, she launches Angelo at enemies from like a crossbow on her arm. So,
oh wow,
Angelo might actually be stronger than Darkstar.
Firing a border collie out of your out of your arm crossbow is quite a way to fight. Open for more town synergy here as we get into our fourth to final pack here. White Mage's Staff. Looks like a solid amount of equipment helpers in this format. Wow, look at Crom Ludwig's Opus there as Barnabas. What is this? That is a crazy looking card. I'm not the hugest fan of these style of these cards where it's like the hero in almost a 3D looking thing, like halfway, and then it's some sort of big avatar behind it.
That's actually Odin. So like this is 16, so that's Clive, who is dominant of Ifrit, and then behind him is one of the dominants transformed into their thing, which is Odin. That's it's a pretty cool card.
Yeah, crazy looking card, I'll say that. Those
doesn't have much to do with the card. The art and what that card is doesn't really make sense to me, but it's cool.
No, yeah, it doesn't seem to really. Elixir. Yeah, so it seems like there's a good amount of equipment. Got a board wipe. That's not bad for a commander deck. Destroy all artifacts and creatures in the turn. It's a decent board wipe, but it is a board wipe nonetheless, and so we will probably end up running it. Ice Flan and a Foil Town. Typically in a format like this, in a limited format, choosing equipment as a strategy is tough because you need specific equipments to really like get you there. You need a critical mass of equipments to play well with all of your cards that are like, hey, when an equipment does this. But with that job select hero creator ability, it feels like you're going to be able to get the right amount of cards to have creatures and to also play equipments. That is a Magic the Gathering card. Hello, Instant Ramen. Welcome. Lucca Stadium is a Strixhaven Stadium. Not the most expensive of these, but that's a... Luca Stadium. Got a 10. Yeah. Final Fantasy 10, I'm assuming. Summon Anima and the uncommon there. Garahatia, one of the commanders. This is the uncommon version of that. Omega Heartless Evolution. Could this be a good card for our base blue-green deck? When it enters, for each opponent, tap up to one target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on those permanents, and you gain X life, where X is the number of non-basic lands you control. Yeah, that's very good for us.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
That is a very strong... That is what you want to find when you're looking for quote-unquote bombs right there. Tapping a thing for each opponent, and then that thing is permanently tapped with that amount of stun counters with all of the towns that we'll be running. That thing is basically just out of the game at that point. So yeah, we like that a lot. Side quest card collection, that's pretty cute. Meta. Enters, draw 3, discard 2. So it's a little bit of advantage. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 8 or more cards, transform it into magic card, Flying Crew 1/4/4. Also got Kane, Traitorous Dragoon. During your turn, he's got flying. And whenever he deals combat damage, that player gains control of Kane, and if they do, you draw that many cards, create that many tap treasure tokens, and lose that much life. Interesting, like aggressive card, passes around the table, kind of in the vein of those kind of creatures. I like it. Sleep Magic, decent removal, doesn't untap, and another town. We're gonna have to go through our towns and see what we've got. These are not legends, so we can run... We could technically run as many of these as we wanted to, but if we do stick to the straight up commander deck building rules, that's not going to work. We got 2 packs left. Let's get a little luck here. We need some town synergy so we can really just drive it home that we're doing the 5-color deck. Black Mage's Rod starts us off there. Hey, search your library for a basic land or a town. That's what we want to see right there. That is what we are after. Slash of Light deals damage equal to equipment. Need some more synergy for towns. Go get towns out of your deck and put them onto the battlefield. Summon Shiva. Little Saz Chocobo. I wonder if the landfall synergies are actually going to cross us pretty well, because we're going to be running stuff that goes in searches, I would think. Hey.
Well, you got the Zell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
You were just talking about Primal Odin. There we go. 6 mana, 5/3. Destroy target creature and opponent controls. This creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. That player loses the game. And then draw 2. Each player loses 2. What's with loses the game on this card?
Odin is well, in not all Final Fantasies, but in a lot of Final Fantasies, when he shows up, he's one of those things that just shows up and kills something.
Yeah.
Like in Final Fantasy VIII, you can't control him. Like you can summon other summons,
right? But
Odin just shows up whenever he wants to, and he just like cuts something in half and then leaves. And this is the Final Fantasy 14 incarnation is our raid boss. But still, that's kind of something Zentetsuken is an ability across a lot of Final Fantasies that just kind of ends something without any warning.
That's a really strong card to use in this deck. I mean, it's a removal spell for 6 mana that leaves a 5/3 behind that if it happens to get through, it kills a player. Yeah, I'll say that that's definitely a card we're going to run. Gigantoad and then a Plains. Oh, look, our little Yuna back there.
There you go.
Hello.
A little waifu for you.
Little waifu Yuna. Last pack magic. Here we go. Let's go. Town Synergy. I haven't gotten any of the clouds I want for my cloud deck, personally. Yeah, Buster Sword.
Chocobo.
A Chocobo would be sweet. Yeah, that'd be really, really tight. Scorpion Sentinel. Cigarettes. Magic Pot. White Mage's Staff. Little Magitech Armor. A little mech in my Magic the Gathering game. Dark Knight's Great Sword. Into our uncommons. Valkyrie Aerial Unit. Bartz and Boko. 5 mana, 4/3 affinity for birds. When it enters each other bird you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. Okay. Genji Glove. Equipped creature has double strike, and whenever it attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap it. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. That's pretty strong.
Oh, God.
Got a foil Black Waltz number 3. And a Treno Dark City, and that completes our box. So I'm pretty sure I know which route we're gonna go, but let's review our rare and mythic legends one last time. Wandering Minstrel is sort of our top option now. All of our lands are entering untapped, beginning a combat. If we control 5 or more towns, we get a 2/2 that's 5 colors, and we can pay 8 to give all of our creatures +X, where X is the number of towns. Joshua, we saw, it's like pretty generic good value, but it's not gonna do what we want out of the command zone. Sid is actually one of our uncommons, should be over here. Sarah, if we just want to play green-white legends, it feels limiting, especially when we could go 5 color, run Sarah, and run all of our legends and still get a lot of that type of synergy. Emmett, same thing. This is, I think, our second best option here as a 3 mana commander. Fix our hand a little bit, little longevity with the flip. What do you think about Hades?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's great in the 5 colors still. So you can still just keep going. Like we'll...
That's the beauty, right? You can just run all your best cards. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. That's decent. I'm not 100% sure it makes the deck. Noctis, Prince of Lucius. Again, a little bit of limiting. You need some specific cards to make that work. We did end up with a good amount of artifacts overall. And so you could look through there and see what your different ones are, because a lot of those are going to be repeats. See what your kind of critical mass, I would say, of artifacts are. I would feel like you need to run at least 20 artifacts that are impactful in some way to really take advantage of this. What would you put that number at?
I would probably put it at 20, 25, but I might even go 25 or 30. But you also need like an ability to get them in the graveyard or a way to use them that, sacrifices them from the field. It needs way too many like pieces for me. Yeah. Constructed, though, fantastic, because you can just go get those specific pieces and the tutors to get them. But in a limited sense, it's not generic enough. Same thing with Yuna, Hope of Spirit here. Cool card during your turn. She and enchantment creatures have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. And at the beginning of your end step, you can return an enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Again, ways to self-mill and get the enchantments into your graveyard. Big enchantment payoffs. I didn't really see any enchantments that were like, oh, wow, if we play this, we win. You don't really need to put in the graveyard. This is clearly for sagas to expire and then to play them again after. Yeah, green-white sagas. That's a good point. Would probably be really good if you were doing the draft commander rules where you could run as many of those doubles as you got. But, right. And that's something to keep in mind if you went to an event, if you went to a con and played this. And then here, vehicles, it's so specific. I think we got the one car. But this will go great in the vehicle deck that we're going to run it in eventually. So I think we're just going to do what is the obvious choice here and try and build a 5-color Wandering Minstrel deck. So then the hardest part of one of these things, jumping into the deck build. It's looking like we need to primarily focus on blue and green. Let's go through all of the other colors first and pull out the cards that we know we want to run from those colors, since we've got access to all 5. And then we will get to our blue and our green and pull our playables from there. So just eliminating stuff as we go. Let's look at our special cards first, actually.
We're not going to run Strixhaven Stadium. This has to do with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a point counter on this. It's just not something we want to look at here. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. I feel like this is a pretty generically good creature to run in this deck. What do you think?
Yeah, normally I wouldn't because it's 5, but I think in this kind of limited format, 5 is super fine.
Yeah,
like, it's good.
2 blue for a counter spell. Never a bad thing to have a counter spell in there. Chromatic Lantern is really strong in our deck. It's going to be fixing us pretty well. Sir Conrad doesn't really seem to have any place in this deck. What do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do love the guy, but he's not doing anything for us.
Yeah, the mill is not really going to get there. And then Ragavan. Do we just run a generically good 1-drop creature? I feel like we do.
I think so, because like, what is your 1-drop? What your 1-drop's going to be a challenging one anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we got 4 strong playables out of there. I'll drop them over here. So we'll look at the white stuff first here. Starting with Dion, Bahamut's Dominant. During your turn, it or other knights we control have flying. When it enters, create a 2/2 knight, so it puts 5 flying power on the battlefield for 4. You can pay 6 to exile it and turn it into a +1/+1 on each other creature you control, which is really strong for our deck because we're creating creature tokens if we're doing the thing right. And it gives them all flying and destroys the thing. I feel like this is a no-brainer.
That's a bomb. Gotta have it.
Yep, so good. Destroy all artifacts and creatures. It's never a bad idea to have a board wipe in your deck just in case you need it. It is sort of the antithesis of our strategy because we're trying to go wide. And so, you know, but having the board wipe, I think, is still going to be something that we need to do. What do you think? Would you run Ultima?
I hate that card, but yeah, I would run it in this.
yeah, you need to pack the board wipe that you get. Wall of Omens is sort of like Dees. I would say it's not bad for clogging up the ground. It's going to be one of the first things cut, but I think we'll put it in the pile. What do you think?
Yeah, you gotta have it early. 1 and 2 drops, I think, is gonna be the hard part. So
yeah. Legendary spells, draw a card. I kind of dig this. I don't dig the double white, and so again, it's going to be one of the things that gets cut pretty quickly. Stiltskin is a no. There's just not much we can do there. Resto Magic is hexproof and indestructible for 1 mana on a permanent. Not a bad trick. I think it's worth in the original cut, and then we'll see where we end up with all of our blue-green support. Lifelink, we don't really have a ton of support on that. Equipment, we talked about. Danith is really good for equipment and auras, and we don't really have a lot of that. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. This feels like a pretty good creature for 3 mana for our deck. We're creating Go Wide. Anything that creates creature tokens or plays with creature tokens, I think we should give a pretty good look to. What do you think of Choco Mog?
Oh yeah, this is really good, but not that one. Where's the pretty one?
Yeah, we'll definitely swap it out for the pretty one for sure. Magitech Armor, when this vehicle enters, put a 1/1 hero on the battlefield. It'll be one of the first cuts, but it's not bad. 4/4 for 4 and makes another creature token.
Yeah, it can accrue itself.
Right. These job selects, this creates a 2/2. Whenever it attacks, you gain a life, and then it turns into that equipment. It's decent, but I don't think I'm really super interested in it. We've already got one of those. Battle menu's really good versatility. I think that we run it just based on the fact that it's versatile. Number of equipment we control to target creatures dealing damage. That's not going to do it, unfortunately, for us. Whenever one
creatures plus and equipment, right? Please.
Deals damage equal to the number of. Oh yeah, thank you very much. Deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control plus the number of equipment you control to target creature. Actually, this is very strong in our deck because we should be creating a lot of creature tokens with this. We've got a little go wide sub theme, so yeah, definitely misread that one. Thank you for that. Whenever 1 or more other creatures and or artifacts you control die, draw a card. That doesn't even say non-token creature. Not bad. Yeah. 5 mana is a lot. I'll say that.
Yeah, it is a lot. It'll probably be one of the first things.
Yeah. Decent 2/2 that taps a target non-enchantment creature. It's the kind of thing that we'll cut. And honestly, the kind of thing that we could maybe cut right now because blue-green is where we need to really fall heavy with our entire strategy. And this would be decent if we were limited to white, but since we're not limited to white, I think we can go ahead and pre-cut that. What do you think?
And in a Final Fantasy kind of a limited environment, if you were doing one of these, all the Saga creatures are going to be immune to that anyway. So it's just like... Yeah, exactly. Fate of the Suncrest. This one's a tough one. Destroy target non-land permanent's really good, and the fact that this could be a 3 mana instant if it's hitting a tapped creature, also very good. So definitely needs to have a look, even though it's a little clunky in our deck.
These job select commons, I'm just going to skip for now. If we figure out that we really need more creature token creators at this, level, we could maybe do it. Whenever this creature enters, put a +1 counter on target creature, and it's got plane cycling for 2, which is the interesting part here. I just don't think that it's super relevant overall. Yeah. This one is giving a creature indestructible until end of turn, counters on that creature, and attach an equipment that was attached to Zach Fair. We're not getting a lot of the value off of Zach, but it could make a creature indestructible for 1. What do you think?
I like it. We're going for like Chocomog and some other things. So like putting some of our protection on creatures, I think is just stronger anyway.
Yeah. We're not going to run Magitech Infantry. This is the kind of card where if you played this limited, you could run as many of these Magitech Infantries as you pulled, and that would be a fun strategy perhaps in limited. But since we're not building with multiple cards, if we open multiple cards, we're just going to skip that one for now. As long as you control 2 or more artifacts, he gets +2/+0. It's not where we want to be. There's our cute version of Summon Chocomog, so we're going to run that one. When this hero dies, create a 1/1. That's a decent 2-drop for us, but we're just we're in 5 colors, and so our cuts are going to be much more scrutinized. Quick creature gets +1/+1, and this can exile and turn into a 4/3 that prevents all damage that will be dealt to creatures we control this turn, and taps all creatures our opponents control. Not where we want to be. If you control 3 or more creatures, this creature gets +4/+4 for 1 mana. Man, if this gave our whole line that plus, or even a smaller plus, I would be down for it, but it's not what we want to do. We've seen Slash of Light. Primal Garuda.
I like this.
4 damage to target tapped creature an opponent controls. Yeah, it's good removal just on that note. Another target creature you control gets +1/+0, gains flying until end of turn. Yeah, that one's decent. Nice little summon there. Seen that one. Attacking creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. That's exactly what we want right there. That is the kind of card that will help us win the game. When Ambrosia enters, you can return a permanent you control to its owner's hand, and whenever a land you control enters, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. What do you think about a flash instant speed save effect?
Like I said, I feel like we want to put as many of our stuff on sticks as we can. Plus, it could save your saga so you can replay it so it doesn't get sacrificed. And you can actually do that after the last trigger goes on the stack. So you get everything out of it.
I'm going to run White Auracite. It's a little off rate, but it's a decent removal with a mana rock in there. Actually, I'm not going to run this because it's 2 white color pips. I thought it was going to be cute, but our 5 color deck doesn't want 2 white color pips. Sorry, White Auracite. Aerith Rescue Mission creates 3 1/1s. Love that. Or tap up to 3 target creatures, put a stun counter on them. I actually kind of like this card. What do you think?
I think it's expensive, and I'm not super a big fan of it, but it can be one of the first things that goes.
Yeah, for sure. This one looks for artifacts, not what we're doing. We've got to get past a lot of our repeats here. When this enters, draw a card. At the beginning of combat, you can pay 1 if you control an equipment to attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. Not what we're trying to do here. We've already got those. Phoenix Down. This one's kind of cool. Return target creature card with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Or exile a thing if we happen to see one of those creature types. Not bad for 3 mana to return something.
Yeah, if we were an Artifacts Matter deck, I'd like it more, but it isn't. We might just be that desperate for some recursions.
Yeah, we'll see. Delivery Moogle. When this enters, search your library or graveyard for an artifact card, mana value 2 or less. Not really what we want to be doing there. We're looking for synergies with lands. That's really what we want. +1/+1 for each equipment you control. That thing. Side quest, catch a fish. Beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card. If it's an artifact or creature, you can reveal it, put it in your hand. That's not what we want. Create 4 1/1s, and then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Love that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Weapons vendor again. You're not alone. Fate. Dragoon's Lance gives a thing flying on our turn. Equip a 4 is pretty steep though, so I don't know. I think that's where I fall with the white cards, and we'll see what ends up getting cut. Let's just move into our black next, since we're going to leave green and blue for last. I know that we want to run Summon Primal Odin. It's just a 6 mana destroy target creature. Even though it's a 2 black pip, 6 mana by then, hopefully we'll be able to make 2 black. What do you think of Kane here? This is the one that when it deals damage, it's drawing you cards and flipping treasure tokens on your battlefield, but goes over to the other side as well.
I am not a huge fan of, I don't know. I feel like if I was building around this in a way where I could take advantage of passing things around and goading things, I'd be really, really into it. But
Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of +1 counters on Vincent equal to that creature's power, and then whenever it attacks, we can transform it into Galleon Beast, which has got Trample, Lifelink, and hopefully the counters from the first side, right? Isn't that what we're trying to do here? Is dump counters, attack, flip, and then it's got Trample and Lifelink, and if they do kill it, it just turns back into Vincent. Pretty annoying creature. I like it.
I like it too. Town, got to run it.
Obviously, we're running towns for sure. Obviously, we're running Overkill. It's one of the best removal spells. This is a legendary that is sort of a removal, but it does give all other creatures -2/-2, which is really antithetical to our entire strategy here.
Yeah, it'll kill all of the heroes.
Just
do with this guy.
I don't think Xenos is going to work, unfortunately. Great Sword equipments. Marlborough, whenever this enters, each opponent discards a card, loses 2 life, and exiles the top 3 cards of their library. It's got Swamp Cycling. I don't think it hits hard enough there. Creature enters tapped. Whenever you cast a non-creature, you can pay a black. If you do, return this from your graveyard to your hand. Good for that strategy, but not what we're trying to do. Black Mage's Rod. Summon Animas. Draw a card. You lose a life. Each opponent sacks a creature of their choice and loses 3 life. That seems like a decent creature to run in this deck.
And has Menace. And
it has Menace. Little Menace on there. We were talking about avoidance. That's a really good avoidance keyword. When this enters, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn or exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. If we weren't in 5 color, I would say yes on that card because it's just good versatility, but there's going to be better stuff across our 5 colors. Enters, lose a life, create a treasure. When it attacks, you can sack a creature artifact if you do Surveil 2. Corner by Black Mages, create a 0/1. Target opponent sacks a creature of their choice. What do you think about a 3 mana forces them to sack a creature, but it is their choice?
Of their choice? No. If we were doing the wizard thing, sure.
Yeah. But, yeah. Sack another creature artifact, draw a card. Look at the top 3 cards, put one into your hand, rest into your graveyard. That's actually pretty good card advantage. 2 mana, get the card you want from your top 3, and it can flash back and do it again. Returning creature cards from your graveyard to your hand seems really good at instant speed, especially whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life. This creature dies, create a treasure token. Enters, each opponent discards a card. Now, I will say, if you are playing in a limited event and you can get multiples of these, this could be really annoying for them to deal with. I've definitely played against people who did like a full box event and just pulled a metric ton of this type of creature and ran only those types of creatures, and it was so annoying. So in multiples, this can get really abusive, but not really where we want to be. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with 2+1 counters on it for 5 mana. I don't mind this, honestly.
I don't hate it either. The 2+1/+1 counters are good. I feel bad for the old rays from what is it?
Yeah. Any of the zombie. Well, Zombify was 1 less mana, but yeah, they lots of reanimation nowadays. We like an instant speed destroy target creature, even if it is 4 mana. We'll take that in this. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If it was kicked, it gets -6/-6. That's not bad. I think it'll be on the chopping block, but we'll put it in the maybe list. It's definitely a consideration over some of this other stuff here that is easy to skip. Sack an artifact or creature, put a +1 counter on this vehicle, becomes a spirit. It's got trample. Man, I'm so like on the edge with this one because going wide, you know, we could sack all of our stuff. But it's a vehicle that doesn't have a crew, so you have to sack a thing for it to attack. I like it less.
Every time you do, it's just not what we're doing.
Yeah, it's not what we're doing. I like it less there. Trader, we've already seen. Reno and Rude deals combat damage, exile the top, and you can sack a creature, and you can play that thing. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, you draw a card.
Well, we could do the meld thing if we wanted, because that's the other half of the meld if you really wanted to go crazy.
I don't want to go that crazy. I think we're going crazy enough here with trying to build a 5-color deck in a limited sense. Typically, I would say do not do this, y'all. Draw 2, lose 2. I think we do run this, right?
I think we run that, yeah.
Even though it's just create a 0/1 and then wizards, we don't really care about that too much, but we like draw 2, lose 2. Yeah, you know. When this enchantment enters, destroy up to a creature. Beginning of your end step, if a creature died under opponent's control, create a treasure. And then you're never going to flip it. Well, no, you could create treasures. A creature died under an opponent's control. Your end step. It's so 5/6,
It's a
sack another.
sacrifice engine.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's all it is. It's not really what we want to be doing. Enters with a stun counter on it. During your turn, it has first strike and death touch. It's silly, but it's not helpful because we're not trying to attack, so it's not really what we're doing there. This creature enters mill 3. Good for that strategy. If we were trying to fill up our graveyard, that's absolutely something we would run. Enters, choose 1. Each player sacks a creature token. Each player sacks a non-token creature. Each player sacks an enchantment.
I like it.
I could see this playing.
I like it. I don't know where I like putting things on a stick because we're going wide, but I don't know what kind of enchantment removal we're going to see.
Yeah, true. All creatures get -1/-1 until in a turn. Target player reveals their hand, choose an artifact or creature, and they discard it. I don't like it. It's decent, but not what we want to be doing. Vincent's Limit Break is until in a turn, target creature you control gains when this creature dies. Return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Has the base power and toughness chosen below. Interesting. It's a little survival thing that you can stack more mana into if you want.
Yeah, if you were doing like a smaller guys, because you might end up messing yourself up here.
Yeah, for sure. Shimmer Reinforcements, another destroy. Create 2 tapped 2/2 black horror creature tokens. If it was cast from a graveyard, instead create X of those, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. 2 2/2s for 4 is not terrible. 2 2/2s for 6 is bad. But if we've got creatures in the graveyard, it's... I mean, 3 2/2s for 6 is good.
I don't know. I don't think this is... You've already got some flashback stuff in there.
Heck Dies, Limit Break, and Marlboro. Okay, well, I mean, that at least gets us through all of the black cards. We can go into our red and then knock out our gold and artifacts pretty quickly and get into our blue and green. Red should be fairly easy to get through. A lot of this is going to sit on equipment strategies that we can pretty quickly skip. Equipment strategy, we're not interested in that. So let's read this as whenever Van deals combat damage, exile the top card of their library and you can cast it, but if you don't, create a treasure. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1 counter on Van. It's like, it doesn't even have avoidance. It's just a random red creature that lets us impulse draw. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just a worse Ragavan.
Yeah.
I'm not into it.
Yeah. Sefer has to do with attacking alone. It gains double strike. Instants and sorceries 3 or less from the graveyard. We can recast it. I'm going to put it in the maybe pile. We have to look at red. Zell is good because we can play an additional land on each of our turns. So I feel like this definitely plays just based off that. And then +1/+0 for each land we control. We do have to return a land we control, but I think that it's got play, right?
I mean, it depends. I would think either we need a crap ton of card draw or we need some lands that do things on enter.
Yeah. I like Light Up the Stage. This is one of those just card advantage typey cards. Plus it's got Final Fantasy art. Yay. Equipped creatures we control have haste. We can skip that one. Target attacking equipped creature gains menace. When this creature enters, create a... Okay, so this one creates a token when it enters. Non-creature synergies, we're not going to get a ton of that, but, you know, what do you think? Two bodies for 3 mana? Search your library for a mountain card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle, create a 2/2 token. This one's interesting, actually, in red.
It is interesting. I wonder if, like... It depends on what lands we got, because there might be some lands that... There's a red town, for sure, that does something, but I don't know if we got
They don't count as mountains, though, so we can't search them up with the mountain chocobo card.
Oh, true.
I'm going to skip it.
Dead.
Shuffle your library, then mill 4. Put each creature card milled this way onto the battlefield. They gain haste. In the beginning of the next end step, return those creatures to their owner's hand. This could be relevant.
It could be good. It could be good. The flashback is what I like about it.
Yeah. And equipment. When a land you control enters, this creature deals the damage to each opponent.
It's a good 2-drop, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Barrett has to do with equipment. Suplex is 3 to a creature. If it would die, exile it or exile an artifact. That's a yes. Summon Esperama. This creature deals damage equal to the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard to target creature and opponent controls. Wizards we control. We can skip that one. Hill Gigas is a trampling, hasting 5/4 for 6 with mountain cycling. Not bad. I'll put it in the maybe pile.
I'd play that in sealed for sure.
Yeah, for sure. GF Ifrit, you can discard a card if you do draw and then add red. Not bad.
On the line.
Yeah.
3/2.
Freya, during your turn, has flying and you can add a red just to cast equipments. Thunder Magic is great. Removal that scales up through the game. Starts as a shock. Queen Braun has got prowess. So this is a spell casting card. Hill, we've already got a copy of. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, we're skipping that. Hasting, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, create a treasure. We skip that. More of that equipment. I like Sandworm, a 5/4 haster for 5.
I like it too. The haste is what pushes it over the edge for me.
Yeah, it makes it playable, right? Got
I
these.
like some land destruction.
Yeah, for sure. Unexpected request. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. Gains haste. Attach an equipment you control to it. If you do unattach it, I'm not into it. Not really what I want to be doing here. Sabo Tender. We've got Ifrit, Rapier, Samurai's Katana. Job select. 2/2 trample and haste. Equip a 5 past that. Yeesh. That is too chunky if we're not cheating it. Discard a card to draw 2 cards for 3 mana and it's got flashback. I think that's decent. It's at least going in the maybe pile. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard or exiled card with flashback you own to your hand and add a red. And it itself flashes back.
What I like about this is it returns an exiled card to your hand, which is crazy.
If you have cast it. We'll see how much we end up with flashback. Maybe it's got potential. We'll definitely run the foil copy of Thunder Magic. Gotta make.
Have we seen?
Our deck
not the
look
time
cool.
to talk about it, I guess. But have we seen return exiled cards back to your hand before?
Not often. Certainly not often.
Yeah.
Light of Judgment is 6 to a creature. Basically says destroy that creature. That's going to catch nearly all creatures and destroy an equipment attached to that. I feel like in this meta in particular, this is definitely one you would want to go with. 3/1 gains haste until end of turn. Exile the top card of your library. You can play it until your next end step. You got to play it this turn. But what do you think of a little hasty impulse draw card?
Later in the game, it could be good. I think it goes in the maybe at best.
Yeah, for sure. Play Blitzball. Beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. At the end of combat on your turn, if a player was dealt 6 or more combat damage, transform this and then attach it. And its equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has double strike and it equips for 3. That's not bad in our little go wide deck.
I don't know. Maybe.
6 or more.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. Target creature you control deals X to any other target and X damage to itself, where X is its power. That is...
I mean, self-destruct is very appropriate, but yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's interesting that Red is giving us so many maybes. Freya, we've seen Ifrit, Hill. Lots of these we get through. Top 2 cards of your library exiled. You can play those cards until your next end step. And then 1 or 2 target creatures you get +2/+0 until end of turn. I'm into this.
Yeah, I like it.
That's what we're going to have to run for card advantage unless we can find some more good card draw spells. When this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control gains first strike until end of turn.
A little combat trick.
Yeah, a little combat trick equipment. X to any target is really good. Create a 2/2 with landfalls, gets +1/+0. We'll take that. Mysidian Elder enters, create a 0/1 black. We've already seen that one. And then item shopkeep. Okay, so that is through our red. Let's review our maybes one more time. I think self-destruct is a no. Play Blitzball, probably a no. Haste Magic, probably a no. Sorcerer Schemes, I think is still a maybe. Laughing Mad, I actually think I'm going to put over here and we'll cut it when we get to it. Trample Haste goes into the maybe. Same thing with this landfall. I guess if we get a lot of search up lands with our green, maybe?
It really feels like it depends on what the other ones are.
Yeah. Same with Random Encounter. Zell, I'm just going to keep in here for now. And then Seifer, what do you think of this? Cast target instant or sorcery mana value 3 or less, and it gets exiled when this deals combat damage. But everything is going to get double strike as long as it attacks alone.
I mean, we're keeping a few things like that flashback, like discard 1, draw 2.
Yeah.
It's not like it wouldn't hit things. But,
So then let's get into colorless and gold cards. Equipped creature has double strike, really cool. Not what we're trying to do. Ultima, really cool. Not what we're trying to do. 5 mana, +2/+2 for each artifact you control. So good, not what we're trying to do. Now this one I like. Attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. Yeah. That plays hard. Love that card in here. Let me set my little maybes off to the side there. When this creature dies, create a treasure. Not what we want to be doing. I like that in the Iron Man deck, though. That's another one of those interesting things to sack and go get something else. Yeah. Lunatic Pandora, pay 2, surveil, pay 6, destroy. Instant ramen. Enters tap, shuffle all non-land cards from your graveyard into your library. Gain life equal to the number of cards shuffled into your library this way. Nothing I'm really loving. There's another job select equipment. Now this, sacrifice this artifact, search your library for a basic land, or we can pay 3, search your library for a land, reveal it, put it into our hand.
I think we run that. We did get the cool town, the Midgar. That might be something we want to go get at some point.
For sure. And we got a foil one, so it's even better. Add a mana of any color for 3. Sack this artifact. Draw 2. Activate only if an opponent was dealt combat damage by a legendary creature this turn. Oh, nice. We can do that on anybody's turn, though. Anybody hits with their legendary, and we can sack this and draw 2.
Yeah, I like it. I don't love 3-cost mana rocks, but in this format, I like it.
For sure. Soul Ring mana on a 4-drop. Pay 1 life. Tap target non-land permanent. Interesting, but no thank you. Whenever this vehicle attacks, draw a card, discard a card. This goes into the maybe pile. It's a decent bomb. 6/5, can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, and it returns for 8 to do all that again. That's kind of interesting. Lionheart.
Just throw this one away.
You won't run that out of respect for Dom's feelings. Adventurer's Airship, Pandora, Ring of the Lucci, Monk Fist. I think we run the Poo Poo UFO, right?
I think you have to run Poo Poo. Yeah. just dropping things on. You just get to drop them.
Yeah,
it's great.
Put the lands right on there. Vigilance, Reach, Trample, 7. I mean, it's a 6/6 with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample, so it goes into the maybe pile if we end up needing good top end. That's our color list. So let's look at our gold cards here. Emmett Selk is, I think, generically good enough to run in our 5-color deck. It's just fixing our hand. Yep. And then longevity. I think we've got enough legends. Plus,
it depends. I mean, if we cut some more of those, like the standard guys, like the Iron Giant stuff. But yeah, maybe. Yeah,
we'll see. She goes into the maybe pile for sure. Emmett, I like though. That one goes into the plays. Balthier does not play. Yuna doesn't play. Noctis doesn't play. Joshua, we decided Joshua's generically good enough. What do you think about Squall? I mean, attacks alone gains double strike.
It really depends. I don't know if we're running a lot of... I don't know what permanents we have. 3. I guess the Chocobo Mog, and it will sacrifice itself. The Choco Mog one that we have in there, and then like anything else that just happens to die. It's a maybe. I feel like
we're running Ragavan. Our commander's 2 mana, so we could always leave our commander in the graveyard.
That's actually a really good point.
And return our graveyard.
It's a slow recursion if he's not already out, but yeah. Sure.
Artifact creatures and heroes you control. We don't really need that. Black Waltz number 3 has to deal with non-creature spells. We really like Omega, Heartless Evolution, when we were looking at that. Enters for each opponent, tap up to 1 target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on each of those where X, and gain X life where X is the number of non-basics we control. That's so good for us. I like this. Search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. That plays in our deck. As far as like top end goes.
Yeah, this replaces Iron Giant hard for me.
Yeah.
This is good.
I think we got a foil one, so I'm going to set it right there so I can find it. I want to run Lock just because it was one of my preview cards, and it's pretty generically good. Death Touching, Lifelinker, deals combat, draw a card, discard a card. Not really trying to fuel a graveyard strategy, but I like it. There's our foil Gladiolus. Cloud of Darkness, enters, target creature and opponent controls, gets -X, where X is the number of permanent cards in our graveyard. I think it's really what we want to be doing. Same with Judge Magister. Whenever another creature artifact you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I mean, that could be a fairly generically good 2/2. Menace, little foil action. We're not going to really be able to take advantage though. I
still like the Cactuar better than I like for the 2-drop.
Yeah, for sure. When Renoa enters, create Angelo, a 1/1, and whenever Renoa attacks another target creature you control, gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. That really plays in our deck, I feel like. Garland, whenever you cast a non-creature surveil 1, and then it flips into just like a 5/5 with flying. Yeah, it's not exactly what we want. Artifact you control enters, put a +1 counter on Tidus, attack, tap a thing. Ignis we really like. Look at the top 6, put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Garnet says whenever it attacks, you can remove a lore counter from any number of sagas. Put a +1 counter on Garnet for each lore counter removed. Not what we want to do, but cool. Whenever Rufus attacks, if you don't control a creature named Darkstar, create Darkstar. What do you think about this? This is just basically another token creator. If Darkstar dies, you get another Darkstar.
I'm not a big fan because if you'll have to swing to get it, and it might not always be good to swing.
Yeah.
If we were sacrificing the tokens, we could do it over and over again.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you had some sort of sack outlet, sack the dog, get the dog back next turn. When X Death enters, you gain 3 at the beginning of your end step. If there are 6 or more permanent cards, transform it into that star 3 power and toughness equal to the number of permanent cards. It's meh. Zidane enters, gain control of a creature an opponent controls until end of turn, untap it, and it gains lifelink and haste. And whenever an opponent, so when you give it back, you get to create a treasure token back. Man, if this was like 4 mana, I'd be super into it.
I hate it because he doesn't get it on attack either. So
Yeah.
he's an uncommon, so it is what it is. But
Right, yeah. You take what you can get. When Gather, another dwarf you control enters, and whenever an equipment you control enters, whenever you cast a non-creature, Shantoto gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of amount of mana spent to cast that spell. If X is 4 or more, draw a card. Cool card, not for our deck. So we ended up with some yeses definitely from the gold cards, and we got some more into our maybe pile, but now we can go through our lands real quick and then get into our green and blue, which is really where we're going to be. Rare town, we're going to run it because it is a rare town.
If it says town, it doesn't matter. It goes
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
thing.
So Treno plays, Guadalasalem plays, but we have a foil. Vector plays, that's a basic forest. Eden, you get to play. Charlian, you play.
Charlian.
Wastes, Gold Saucer. Montagna, Baron. Nice.
I
We don't
think
have
we have
that
that.
one. Royal City.
Astray.
Wind.
Oh, dude, you just got
Windburst.
them all.
Yeah, man, we're flying here. Okay, this is the first repeat.
Whoa, foil.
Charlene. Yep, but we're going to do the foil for sure. Nation of Scholars. That's a swamp. Do we have Crown City already? No, there's another one. It's good. We're rolling here.
Jeez.
Crossroads Village. That's good. Gone. Nice. Good. Already got the village. Guadalassam. There's a Crossroads Village in foil. Vector, we already have. Baron, we have. Yes, we already have that one. Treno, but we did have it, but it's a foil, so we'll swap it out for sure. Capital City, we did not have. Excellent. Good. Got an uncommon there. Adventurers Inn, we didn't yet. Charlene, we have. Adventures Inn. There's a Plains and Gongaga. Hey, we needed Gongaga.
Reactive count.
All right.
That's a
that
huge amount of
actually,
towns.
yeah, that actually
That's
really
so
worked
much.
out, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 towns, baby. That actually worked out really nice.
It is spicy to be running the colorless cards in the 5-color deck, but I feel like you got it.
You got it. We need the towns. They all count the towns. That's what we're looking for there. All right, so those are our lands in every color except for blue and green, which is where we're living mostly. All right, so let's look at our green first. Since we are a base green-blue deck, lots of the cards are going to come from here, and then the cuts will come from what we've already kind of established. Affinity for birds. This one's really going to depend on if we end up with a lot of birds in here, so I'll just kind of put this one off to the maybes. Whenever a land you control enters, double her power. I feel like that's a yeah, right?
Yeah, for sure it is.
Ancient Adamantoise, I think we also agreed, is pretty crazy creature. Search for a bird or a basic land, I think fits really well in here. Same thing with Azusa, playing 2 additional lands. That's a pretty crazy pull off the bonus sheet there for this deck. Mill 5, return all lands cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and then until end of turn, another target creature you control gets trample and +X/+X, where X is the number of lands you control. Yeah, dude. Plus, by the way, 7/7 reaching trample for 5. I know it dies, but
he's dope.
whatever. 2 mana dork. I kind of dig this. I'm not gonna lie. Put it off to the maybe side, but I dig it. Here, we'll put our little maybe greens over here. Gigantode, 7 or more lands, it becomes a 6/6 for 4. Whenever a land you control, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's not bad.
I like it.
Till end of turn,
There's the bird synergy.
Yeah, it's another bird, right? Until end of turn, this creature gets +1/+1 for each permanent card in your graveyard. No. Search your library for a basic land or town card. Yes. Look at the top 3. You can reveal an artifact, creature, or land from among them, put them into your hand. Yes. I think we got a foil of that. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. Remove a lore counter or put a lore counter.
I think yes.
This is really just the fight, but I feel like, yeah, we were going to hit some sagas.
We've got Anima, we've got Odin, we got the Titan.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying, and it's got cycling too. We run that in this. Landfall, whenever land you control enters, create a 2/2 bird. Yeah, dude. Hell yes. Yes, dude.
For 5? For
Yeah.
5?
I know, but yes, that's what we're trying to do. Chocobo kick, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. And if it was kicked, creature you control deals twice that much damage instead. Yeah, that's a good removal spell. Creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn, or return up to 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. I like that. When this creature enters, you gain 3 life. Forest cycling. It's a 6/6 forest cycler for 6 with trample.
With trample. If we had done green first, I'd be like 100%. But
Yeah.
we've got so many good 6 drops.
We'll put it into the maybes and we'll see where it ends up. Target creature gets +3/+3, gains trample until end of turn is fine. +2/+2 and reach on a job select is fine.
Equip for 6.
Yeah. Mill 2 cards, return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand. And then it's got the synergy with the other. I don't think it's where we want to be, unfortunately. Create a 2/2 bird, and it's got flashback. I'm mid on it. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield. I think this is good. Cast a creature spell, enters with a +1 counter, and then draw a card if you control the biggest one. When this creature enters mill 4, put a land card from among them into your hand. If you put a town card into your hand, you gain 2. That's good. Gigantode, we don't need. Final act, until end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0, gains when this creature dies, put a number of +1 counters on its equal to its power on up to one other creature. Middle on that. We already got one of those. Diamond weapon, 8/8 that doesn't take combat damage with reach. That seems pretty good, right?
Yeah, and it can be really cheap depending on how late in the game.
Yep. Already got these.
Whoa, foil.
Foil one of those. And this creature, when another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Not what we want to be doing. Side quest, raise a chocobo. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 bird. Beginning of your first main phase, if you control 4 birds, transform it into black chocobo. When it transforms, search your library for a land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. You think we're going to hit enough birds?
I don't think there's enough birds in this set. If you're not running doubles, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Enchantment enters, create a 2/2, and then you basically need 3 more for this to flip into something good. Yeah, I'm super maybe on it, but we'll see where we end up. Tokens would be created. Those tokens plus a frog are created instead.
That's pretty good with the job select stuff, but it's not what we're doing.
Yeah, if we were doing more with the tokens, maybe. I mean, now I will say our commander creates tokens. If a token would be created under our control, our commander is creating townsfolk, right?
That's true. That's
Heroes.
not bad.
Yeah, I kind of dig it.
3.
Yeah.
I kind of like it now.
Beginning of your end step. No, not Cactuar. It's cute.
Need some haste.
Cute, but not what we want. A 2-mana mana dork. Whenever you cast your first human creature spell each turn, that creature enters with an additional +1 counter on it for each dog or wolf you control. Is that
our
just...
Our commander's a human, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, is it just a mana rock that makes our commander enter with a +1 counter? I feel like that's...
and I think that some of the other people we're running are humans. Like some of the main characters are all going to be human.
Yeah, it's a human bard. Beginning of your combat, if you control 5 or more towns, create a 2/2.
There's a strong chance we have like 10 more humans in this deck anyway. So.
Yeah, plus it's a mana of any color, so that really helps with our 5-color thing. Bard's Bow we don't need. Tifa's Limit Break is a creature gets +2/+2, or we double the power and toughness, or we triple the power and toughness. That's actually interesting. I like that.
I think
Fat Chocobo creates a 2/2 on the first one, and then creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. Yeah, it's kind of mid, right? It is a bird. We put it into the maybes. Don't need that. Wait, ride. Whenever a land you control, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. That's not terrible. Precious Wanderings, Rexasar, Kick. Summon Fenrir, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Got a cool version of this to run. Another one. There's that. Greens. There's the Commune with Beavers. We'll swap that out. Play the foils. We play the foils. When this creature enters, choose one. Destroy an artifact or enchantment or draw a card. Not a bad bomb. Better than the generic big fat stuff at the top. I do like it in the maybe pile. Bow we don't need. Vanille we didn't run. Fat Chocobo we decided not to. Showpoof we're close. Chocobo and then our Gardener. Okay. So there's our green support. Not terrible. And then we're into our blue and then we can start looking at our curve where we're going to have a ton of cuts. Luiso's Sacrifice. This is a 1 mana sacrifice outlet or 3 mana counter an activated ability, triggered ability, or non-creature spell.
I love this card. I'm a blue player though, so like I might be biased. This card's awesome.
I think that we run it. 3 mana, we run it. We're not scrying or surveilling enough to care about Matoya. Return another permanent to its owner's hand with Jill. And then...
It might be good.
Yeah,
Just
flips into Shiva. Target creature can't be blocked is good. Yeah.
The dream is you make Odin unblockable on the turn that he swings in and kills somebody. But
yeah, summon Shiva doesn't really feel super impactful for our strategy here. Y'shtola, we don't have anything that's like... I mean, enters the battlefield isn't really what we're trying to do. Return each creature that isn't a Leviathan, Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent to its owner's hand, and then until end of turn, whenever it attacks, draw a card. I like this. 6 mana, 6/6.
I like this. This is my kind of board wipe right here. This is good.
Yeah, I'm into it. Valkyrie aerial units got affinity for artifacts, so it's probably not going to be something we like. Nope, flying 5/4 enters and surveils. Just not enough artifacts to really make it impactful. 7 or more lands. This turns into a 4/4 for 2. Oh man, this is so mid. It feels like we would want to run it, but it's just really mid in the deck. Draw a card, discard a card, or sack this creature, draw 3 cards. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each town you control.
Yeah.
Gotta run that, right? That's what we're trying to do. Sleep Magic is just good removal. Taps the thing, doesn't untap, and then if it does get dealt damage, it gets sacrificed. But for 1 mana, not bad. Take something offline. Enchantment enters, draw 3, discard 2. Beginning of your end step, if there are 8 or more cards in your graveyard, transform this into a flying 4/4 for 1. I don't care about the transformation, but I do like the draw 3, discard 2. That's not bad.
I hope we have something better, but we don't often get the choice.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to end up running it, though. Ice Flan is a 6 mana 5/4 enters. Tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls. Put a stun counter on it, and it island cycles. Not something we want. Create a 3/3. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, put 2 counters on that. Interesting. Quistis Trep, you can... I'm saying that name so poorly. When this enters, you can cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. Mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell from a graveyard.
I like it because it's a graveyard.
Yeah, a graveyard is pretty good, right?
And the blue magic lore, because in Final Fantasy, blue mages learn magic from their enemies.
Oh, really? That's kind of cool. Cool art on that one as well. Sahagin. Cast a 9 creature, it gets +1/+1 counter and can't be blocked. Surveil 1 draw with flashback. That's not bad.
It's not really card advantage, so you're trading cards for
yeah,
card,
it's not really what we want to be doing. It's better in a deck that's like running wants to cast a lot of non-creature spells because it replaces itself.
Yeah.
This is a 2/1 flyer that creates a 1/1 when it enters.
3 power for 3.
Spell can't be countered. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand and draw a card. It's a little expensive for what it does. Target player draws 2. Put a +1 counter on up to 1 target creature I control. I like that. Yeah, stealing equipment. What do you think about this? It's so situational.
I don't think it's good enough.
Yeah, it gets cut, right? Because...
And they get to keep it. They just get...
Right. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 hexproof.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's really funny to think about taking off like one of the job select ones that have like a 6 mana to equip cost, and then they basically can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
But
not impactful. Return a creature, target creature's owner puts it on the top of the bottom, or target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. I just don't like the choice. I'll put it in the maybes if you think it's a potential.
I like it, but it's my style thing.
This is a flashing tap it down. I like this a lot. Instant speed removal. Counter and this is just a syncopate. Syncopate plays. Already got one of those. Travel the Overworld has affinity for towns now. Draw 4 cards. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Super awesome. Already got the Syncopate, Dreams, Stolen Uniform in the Cute, Damper, Tutorial. Whenever another artifact you control enters, draw a card, discard a card. Ice Magic is not good. Sleep. Thief's Knife. +1/+1 deals combat damage to a player. Draw a card and is a rogue. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum when it enters tap and... we already did this one. We've got one of those.
Yeah.
Don't need that. Job select. Untap target attacking creature and is a cleric. Whatever. Ooh, got to foil one of those. Combat tutorial. Lots of the... Sahagin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but... Lots of those. Choose target spell. Surveil 2, then counter the chosen spell unless its controller pays 1 for each card in your graveyard. Circular Logic back with Surveil 2 stapled to it.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's all
Not
right.
what we're doing.
Not what we're doing. Not what we're doing. I have to agree with you there. When this creature attacks, Surveil 1. Nice. Little graveyard synergy, though. We got way more of the synergies for, like, graveyard stuff in our blue. There's a foil syncopate if we decide to run that. Ether, exile this artifact, add a blue. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery, copy it. I like that it exiles. They were like, people will break this if it's a sack effect. They will just completely destroy this card. Ultros, Obnoxious Octopus. Whenever you cast a non-creature, if at least 4 was blah, blah, blah. And then Scorpion Sentinel. Seems like it should play, but it doesn't. Okay, blue was a little disappointing overall, but that is all right. We got some definites we added to our maybes. Let's swap out the merchant. Got to use the foils. That's what we do here. Move all these over to the side, and then let's lay out this deck. We've got 76 cards here, counting out exactly what we've put down. As we went, we chopped some cards from that main chunk of cards that you saw. These 7 got cut as we were laying it out. I think they're all decent cuts. We've got some maybes here that we could fill some spots with. I'm going to keep this as basically our maybe board here. And then we can go through our numbers in particular and see in the stacks if there's anything we've missed that we know we want to cut. Let's look at our ones first, just because our ones are going to have the least impact in the game of Commander overall. Ragavan still seems like a really strong creature. I'm less on it just because it's really good turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then less good top decking this turn 10, but it still seems really good. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible on a white mana. I still really like that. How are you feeling about Zach Fair at this point?
I mean, we've gotten a few things that buff our creatures. I don't think we leaned in hard enough to go. I guess Choco Mog, and the white put 1/1s and everything, and I think Renoa also puts 1/1s and everything. Yeah, we might be able to get value out of them and still use them to protect.
Yeah, at the very least, he's like makes a thing indestructible. It's kind of a maybe. I'm less on Phoenix Down now. We do have the reanimate spell in here.
Yeah, I'm over this one, I think.
Yeah. Thunder Magic is a shock, or a 4 to a creature, or an 8 to a creature for 7. I still think this plays. I mean, if we need removal, we need removal. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we end up playing that. World Map is great for our strategy. Land control enters. This gets +1/+1 counter. I'm less on this one now too. I feel like maybe some of our bigger stuff from our maybe board would want to come in over this. What do you think?
Did we put? Yeah, Zell's not in the deck, so we don't really have the bounce.
No, we have Zell. We got Zell here.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, so we can do some landfall synergies. Yeah, there are some things. You're right. There are some things. This is a removal, and we've got a good amount of sagas going at this point.
That's a finisher.
Yeah, this is the kind of finisher. Triple target creatures power and toughness until end of turn. It's a game win there. Commune with Beavers is what we want to be doing. This one is kind of a maybe. This could be something more consistent.
I think it could go.
Yeah.
It could go. I love it, but I understand. And
then Sleep Magic is a pretty decent removal spell there at 1. So let's take a peek at our 2s and just refine. Counter spell we like. Battle menus just so versatile. Slash of Light is fantastic. Enters, it saves a thing, and then it's got a landfall ability just for like extra shits and gigs, but it's mostly a 2 mana save that thing from instant destruction. Resentful Revelation is card advantage that pops back up. This is one where I'm like, but it is still -2/-2.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got overkill. We'd have to look at how much removal we have. I'm not in love with us sacrificing creatures.
We create tokens, though. That is the thing we're trying to do.
That's true. You're right. That's true. I keep forgetting about the commander.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Suplex 3 to a creature, gets exiled or exile an artifact. I love that. This is mostly an impulse draw kind of thing, but it has some play. Poo-Poo UFO plays. This one, I think, is still good in this. We want to be able to put some counters on it, preferably to get that power doubling even more. This is a one-sided fight. Great. This has to do with
returns a land to your hand as well.
Yep, exactly. 2 mana, any mana, color dork. I feel like all of these play. Looking at our threes, this is where we are the thickest right now. We got a good amount of top end. I really like the curve on our top end, to be completely honest. We're a little heavy here. We're a little heavy in our 7+. This is actually a 6. Our 7+, and I'm counting the X spell as a 7+, because I'm thinking that we would want to put at least 5 into that. 5 to any target for 7 mana is kind of where that's going to potentially live. Travel the overworld has a bit of a reduction on it with our affinity. Anyway, discard up to 2, then draw that many. It's just generically good, and then it's got the 2 to each opponent or return things on the back, and we already know how many 3 mana or less creatures we have. I like Joshua. Ignis has to do with lands. Zeus has to do with lands. Precious Wanderings has to do with towns. That's removal with cycling. Our commander makes tokens. We need the ramp. Jill is kind of a... This one could go if we wanted to, you know, make some room to look through our maybe board.
It could go.
I'm putting all of those cards in our maybe board so we can go back through that one more time just to refine the deck. This is any, so I'm just super into that. 3 mana to cast anything in anybody's graveyard, instant or sorcery wise. It's a divination with upside. It's a removal. This says towns on it. Mana of any color with 2 card draw upside, like that. Good value upside, period. That's impulse draw. Little card advantage. This one isn't so much card advantage. This is just fixing, because you are losing 2 cards to draw 2 cards. I think this could probably get cut, and you know, we see if there's anything in our maybes that applies more. Zell we really like. Fight On we really like. Chromatic Lantern's good fixing. That has to do with our go wide. That has to do with our go wide, and that's just good removal. So 3s are pretty set there. Getting now into bomb territory. Dion is just really good value in bomby. 4 to a tapped creature. It's a removal, plus creatures we control get flying. This one's, I'm a little mid on this one, but this one is still, I think, good, just because it's 4 to a tapped creature.
And it's a creature. Putting our removal on creatures when we're going wide, I feel like is good.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. This is a little clunky, but it's either 3 1/1s or 3 temporary removals, which is kind of nice with our strategy. Vincent is just a killer creature. That's just straight up destroy. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life for 4 mana is why we're running this. The other is just upside, I guess. Each player sacks a creature token, a non-token creature, or an enchantment. This is like a Fleshbag Marauder with upside, basically, right?
Yeah, we can get rid of one of our 2/2s. I like it.
Yeah, I can dig it. Regalia is really good for our land, and then Squall, we've already determined we have a lot of 3 or less, so that's going to play. And then Saz, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand. I mean, that's gonna have play, and I feel like really do well in our deck overall. So we can move to our 5s and our 6s all at once here, and then we'll do our 7s on top of that, because we know we're gonna run every single card that we've got that says town in it. Crom, cast your second spell, draw a card. I mean, this is just kind of generically good 5 mana creature in our Final Fantasy treatment. Board wipe, I can dig. Whenever one or more other creatures and or artifacts you control die, draw a card. In a go wide strategy, lots of creatures. I mean, it's replacing stuff in our hand. It's maybe on the line. What do you think?
I think it's on the line. It's on the line, but card draw is hard to come by, so.
Yeah, exactly. Destroy a non-land permanent for 5 is good. Upside if it's a tapped creature. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield for 5. Whenever it attacks another target creature you control, gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. That's really strong. We know Summon Titan is strong in this deck. You're kind of mid on Chocobo Racetrack, right? Land falls, create a 2/2.
Yeah, I don't think we have the support to do this. But, you know, best case scenario, we have Zell, but even that's just an extra land.
I'll put it off to the side, and we'll reassess with how many cards we have left. Creatures we control get +3/+3. That's a win con. That's how we're going to win with this deck, hopefully. This is good board wipe on a 6-butt creature. This is great destruction and potential game win. This is good card draw and some removal on a summon. And Gladiolus has to do with our landfall. We get to go get any land card when it enters the battlefield, and that's just pretty excellent. Plus giving something trample, we'll take that. Crystal's Chosen, we like creating go wide stuff. X to any target, nice versatile removal there, or finisher. Omega Heartless Evolution has everything to do with what we're trying to do. This is just a big, ridiculous creature with 20 as a toughness, and so I feel like we want to run it because we got it. Diamond Weapon, I feel like, is a little on the edge here. Each permanent card in your graveyard will probably get there and have this be reduced down to a pretty cheap 8/8 that doesn't take combat damage.
It's a 5 cost.
Yeah.
When it gets cast.
Not bad. Not bad for the top end. And then that says Affinity for Towns, draw 4 cards. At this point, we've got 70 cards in the deck. We're going to take the list over to Moxfield, our sponsor, put it in over there, and make our last 8 cuts. Probably what you want to do is get your non-lands down to 62 so that we could run 38 lands. It being a landfall deck and a towns-based deck, I would say 38 lands is where you want to fall. Dom, where do you think?
Honestly, if I was constructing this, it'd be closer to 40 being landfall, but 38, I think is good.
Yeah, in a limited sense. So we're going to leave Dom here at this point and take it over to Moxfield. Dom, thank you for joining us for the opening and the build. Fun fact, Dom and I have a channel together. Why don't you tell them about it?
Yeah, it's Garage the Gathering Commander gameplay in my garage. It's 20 feet away from me in that direction. If you haven't watched it yet, you can fix that mistake. You need to just go over right now, watch it. Garage the Gathering on socials, YouTube, everything.
Link is down in the description. Go check that out. Dom, we appreciate you. So then, taking the deck over to Moxfield shows us that we actually did pretty well with our Wandering Minstrel deck. If we slip down to the sideboard here, I can show you what we ended up cutting, and then we'll work our way back up to the top. Clash of the Icons ended up going. We just didn't have enough sagas to really make the modes of this anything past a fight spell. Thunder Magic, again, solid removal, but it costs a lot of mana, and it just ended up getting cut against some of the other removal that we had. Zach Fair, it's a 1 mana 1/2 as it enters, and it can make something indestructible and drop that counter on it, but we don't get any other synergy with it in our deck, so we cut it. With a Promise Fulfilled, which is a copy of Light Up the Stage, dealing damage in a commander game, sometimes it can happen, sometimes it won't. It just didn't end up being the card draw spell that we really wanted it to be. Auron's Inspiration, in this limited environment, if that's the way we wanted to go, this could potentially be a win for us. But with the way it is now, we just don't have enough reliable ways to go wide a ton. And so with Auron's Inspiration, it just felt sort of like it would be a dead card in our hand for a long time in the game, and we wouldn't even get that opportunity to flash it back. Squall ended up getting cut just because the number of mana value 3 or less permanents didn't really line up with what we wanted to be doing. Summon Anima, we looked at the top end to kind of chop the rest of the cards here. You can draw the cards and lose the life, but at the end of the day, it's a 6 mana 4/4 that's going away, and so it just didn't really stick for us. Same thing with Summon Leviathan. We didn't really have any of the synergies to go with Krakens, Leviathans, Merfolks, Octopus, Serpents, and we don't want to bounce our tokens back to our hand because we can't recast those. All the work we've done to get those is completely shot if we cast Summon Leviathan, so we cut it. And then 7 mana to cast Crystal's Chosen just ended up being too much, a little too high on the CMC for our blood there. So that ended up being what we chopped to get down to our 100 cards. You can see we ran 38 lands. I've got my highlighter function here used on Moxfield. You can type in a search in Scryfall terms using the highlighter on Moxfield, and it will highlight your deck to show you different things. I wanted to see how many towns we were running because the Wandering Minstrel says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 5 or more towns, create a 2/2 elemental creature token that's all colors. In a perfect world, we've got like 25 to 30 of these things in our deck, and if you were to upgrade this and take it into more of a actual constructed commander deck, you would want to get every single town that you possibly could and keep an eye out for them coming out with more down the road, sort of a fine wine list kind of ability here with towns. Anytime they get released or the mechanic comes back, Wandering Minstrel gets a little bit better. The absolute minimum that I would want to make this even a possibility would be like 10 to 15, and 10 is really cutting it close. I'd want minimum 15, and we ended up with a very respectable 17. Now, are we going to get a ton of them every single game? No, but with some of our search, some of our card draw, and a little bit of luck, we can get to that 5 points so that Wandering Minstrel can be dumping out our 2/2 elementals as much as possible as we work toward that 8 mana overrun style ability so that we can get a win that way. Most of the other cards in the deck we've gone through. I really appreciate you watching this far. If you have any questions or you want to talk deck building, I can't wait to talk about this deck with you down in the comments. This was a really fun build. My first 5-color deck with this series, and I think it turned out pretty solid. I like being able to run all the best cards, I'll tell you that much. If you've watched this far, consider supporting me directly over on Patreon, and other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.